Let's start. I'm interested in the idea of misleading people by religion, by publicity, by science, for instance. So this idea of runes always was fascinating to me, because nobody can really speak with it. I'm interested in the past, so it's something from the past that they made, that the Vikings, the Norwegians, Danish people, about 1,000 years ago, made with sticks. So a kind of language on the floor. It was to use as a to make prophecies about the future, and later it became a language. You can still find stones with these signs on. I don't know if someone can read them, but in the Second World War, the Germans, for instance, used it, and at this moment still some extreme right organizations use these signs, like the Azov battalion in Ukraine. They do, the extreme right organization is doing this, using this. So it fits well on flags, for instance. And if you use colors like black and red, it's very strong, because the shape is very with sharp angles, for instance, and the Germans used it on their clothes. One time I had the idea to make a combination when I saw in a magazine something erotic, and I cut it out a cardboard and put it over it, so it functioned well. And then I had the idea to use the whole alphabet together with pornography, but I found it too easy. And then I had the idea to make the combination with in fact things that extreme right or conservative people don't like. Mm-hmm. So mixed races, they want to have a clean race, so only, for instance, here only Caucasic people in erotic photos. The idea of using homosexuals and LGBT people came also together. So the first thing is that you see the shocking shapes of runes. You come closer, and then you see pornography, so it becomes softer. And if you look longer, you see the idea of LGBT people and mixed races. It was not so easy to make as it looks. First, at this moment you cannot find these magazines anymore, although they were printed in the 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. In the 90s, on very good paper with very good models. And maybe you can still find them in real shops, but I found them on second-hand shops to go more back in time. And I had to make a very good selection in it, because it's hard to find LGBT photos, and also mixed races are not so easy to find. I had to be careful to make it not too pornographic, because then it was too obvious. Then the idea must stay. So it was not so easy to make, but because a lot of people here, their family was more or less involved not all, of course, in resistance or in helping the Germans, or had other reasons to work with them, economic reasons, for instance. We had two wars next to each, short after each other. So we had the First World War, and which was very tough here, especially here, because Ghent, the city here, was the main capital, the war capital for the Germans to fight to France, and so everything was related to the First World War here. Like a Zeppelin came down here on the roof. It came over to my house and came down here on the 100 meters from here. So in the neighboring streets there are a lot of monuments about the First World War, but also from the Second World War. So these signs were used in the war, and people still connect them here with the Second World War and the Germans. So you have still here also extreme right groups who are using some parts, some letters of it. I think that's all what I can say about it. Yeah, they know they are runes, but I don't know what it means. Each letter had also a meaning, had a kind of motto, had a kind of aphorism together with it. But what is interesting is that they brought things together and made a kind of religion with it. The Germans, they used big stadions, and they had a big theater. They made a theater of it, and at this moment still politicians use this in film, in documentaries about themselves or publicity about themselves. They use a lot of things that the Germans found. But I think everybody knows. I find it interesting. I think at this moment, runes, they are used by extreme right groups in America, in England, maybe also in Australia, I don't know. So in fact, world is one. Of course, each people looks different to it, because it's sometimes in Asia, people don't know it. Of course, they use the swastika sometimes. It's a sign of the sun. It's not a rune. It's not a rune. People think this, but it's not a rune. It's another sign. Maybe something interesting is that you can find runes here also on houses from 2000 years ago, and even older farms. People don't realize, but it's in the wall. These are pre-Christian signs, in fact, maybe 4,000 years old, and were used again and again. And people don't know anymore what it means. They say it's again the bad ghosts. Sometimes they say. But you have a horse, and then you have something, kind of van, and the wheels of it in wood. They still use as a kind of authentic artificial artifact. On the front of the house, they put to have a nice country house. They use it as an ornament, but in fact it means the sun. That it's the sun wheel. That's the original meaning of the swastika is related to it, to the sun wheel, of course. Like for instance, you have the mills here. The old mills have everything in the mill is related to the year, to the sun, and to the year. So a sign can mean several things. like in the mill here, you have a kind of stick to keep a very big stick. It's like this, with like a fork, and this was put outside of the mill to keep him on the ground, to keep the mill standing still. Mm-hmm. And if when they removed it, the wheel could turn. So you have the wheel, and it means the four seasons it means. But inside the mill, you had also wheels to make it work. Yeah. And these are also related to the year. So you have three wheels. And each wheel has 52 parts. I mean, teeth, let us say, we call it teeth, right, to put in each other. So 52 weeks, again 52 weeks, and again 52 weeks. And these three wheels wanted to say also, it's a sign also from the sun, which is coming up in the morning, the sun in the afternoon, and the sun in the evening. It's coming from, we think, from India. Mm-hmm. Like our languages in Europe are also coming from India. Mm-hmm. We call it Indo-European. Like a lot of words here, like the word father, like our word is father, in German, in English, father. But in Sanskrit, it's called Pitar. Pitar, it came to pater. In Latin, it came to father. It came to father, to our father. And in India, in Sanskrit, it's also Baba. We have, and we say also Papa. So maybe there's also a relation. Baba is also God in India. It means father. So everything is mixed. It's interesting. This sign of three wheels, three circles. You can find it here often in old farms, but also in the front of the church here in Europe, maybe also in other countries. But it says for the Christians, Father, the Son, and I'm Catholic, so you have the three. I think the ghost. I'm not sure. So, so the three unity is it called? So you find it on churches here, but it's much older. So it comes from the pre-Christian time, that people believed in nature, and it was a religion based on nature. All these feasts were related, it's everywhere in the world, I think, were related to the parts in the year, like between two seasons, you have the middle season, where the harvest was. They did some in 15 August. So I'm fascinated by all these feasts, like Halloween, which came originally from here, from Ireland, went to the States, and came back the last 20 years here. So things like that are interesting. I think you want to ask if I am a political activist, artist, maybe. Is it that more the question? I use it as a kind of mirror, as a kind of reflection, but I'm not critical about it. Maybe I'm a painter, but sometimes I do also other things, like when they ask me, do you want to make a parade? I did a procession. Maybe it's an idea to make in Japan too. a kind of parade with flags, because I write also, like I made, for instance, I started also not only as a painter, but also as a writer. But I thought maybe I cannot go further than Amsterdam or Paramaribo, where they speak Dutch. I wanted to see the world with my art. So then I stopped with writing. I won a prize with writing, but I stopped with writing, and I focused on my art. And the idea here, I received 200 church chairs, and I will burn my aphorisms in the wood here. Here it's written in Dutch, but I will make other series in other languages. Are they misled who misled you? So it's always about misleading people, saving people, influencing people. That's what you see is not what you get. So it's always something different. I'm interested in several layers. You see something, but it's not that, it's something else. Sometimes the visitor tells me also things that I didn't knew. So I'm adapting, receiving information. And also when I'm not there anymore, other people can make their own history of it. Some artists make only one thing, and the whole life they make the same. For me, it's different. I want to make, for me, it's an adventure. Art is an adventure. I want to find out new things. With the books that I make, I can give information and ideas to other artists. They can use it. It was like that. I saw in a newspaper all the Formula One signs. I mean, I call it signs because they were drawn on a small map as big as a post, as a stamp. So mm-hmm. They were all under each other, 2 lines together, 19. And I thought it's like a rune language, because you have the 8 of Osaka, a kind of 8, you have another one is more a circle, another one is more oval. It was like an alphabet. I went looking on internet, and because it was the beginning of Google Earth, so I looked. It was not easy to find the circuits. I found, like, China was difficult to find. Was it China? Yes, China. So and then I printed them, and I painted them, all the series, the whole series, I mean. And then I had once the occasion to put them even in an 8 form on the wall. I'm still working on them. But so the idea there, in the circuits, there are no people on them, no cars. They are empty with cars. There are no cars, but it's nature who wins, is a real winner of the concours of the work. You see only empty buildings and concrete and the form of it. So I had them, for instance, at an art fair, Art Brussels, for instance, and then people come and they say, look, that's Vancouver. I'm from Vancouver. I'm from Melbourne. People could recognize their country in the work. So it's something. Yeah, it becomes to something nationalistic also. Sport is also a kind of nationalism sometimes, and people identify themselves with the form. Yeah, that's the idea. Yes and no. I'm more interested in everything around the sport, like the stadium, how people react. For instance, if they're on the wall a series of, maybe you can see it from here. I will take one. I don't know if you can see it. That's a streaker on a soccer field. This person, yeah, is naked. When I was a kid, it was the first time on TV that streakers. It was in the 70s that streakers were on TV, and I was shocked because it's normally naked people were not on TV. So they were small, of course, on the soccer field. And my father is still always looking to sports, especially soccer. So I found it interesting that because for me, soccer is boring, but at moments when it's really boring, these people run on the field and attract all the attention of the audience to them for 3 minutes. And that's interesting that one person is attracting 20,000 people. And what is also interesting that it's in waves. So you had a wave in the 60s, you had one in the 70s, very short. It's only 3 weeks and then it stops. And one in the 90s and one in 2003, I think. And then from now, it's 20 years ago that I saw it, I think. At that moment, you see it everywhere in the Western world, maybe not in Japan. And I had one time Russian students in my house. I said, in Russia, it doesn't happen. They didn't know what it was. They never heard about it. I think it's censored on the Russian television, that it doesn't come on TV. But here everything is possible. So everything is possible. It comes on TV, of course. Yeah, we have a quite open society here. Not everything is possible, but everything is possible. I learned once at school. Till there is someone who complains. I heard once from a German gallerist. He said to someone else, and this person said to me, he said, if you want to find art in the world now, you have to go to Flanders, to the Flemish part of Belgium. There you can find the art of now, and it's not only now, it's already for decades. Neighbors, let us say, or other artists that I know who even stayed in my house are Michael Bormans or the photographer Dirk Braakman. Yeah, I know the whole scene. The Flemish country is very small. It takes only 2 hours to go from one part to the one side to the other one. But I think there are at least 700 artists here in Ghent living, and I think several are famous in the. So yeah, it's a good. There's a good atmosphere for it, and the government supports a little bit. Like with Corona now, they do a lot. Of course, they have money from Europe sometimes. Like for instance, they even pay for a show which was not. It was a show in Venice, which was not happening anymore, and they give me an amount for the show which was never there. So that's good. It's very accepted, and we have also many collectors here in Flanders. Ordinary people who start, a policeman who starts with a collection. We have, sometimes I say to people, look, 3 years to pay your work, and every month you put a little amount on my account. So even ordinary people have woodcuts or graphic works, or make works themselves at home. We have a good network of cultural centers in every city, small city even, with small art schools in every city. I think there are 30 cultural centers. There is a very good network, and it's for all classes, for lower class, let us say, middle class and rich people. It's really, maybe it became, instead of religion, people were very Catholic 100 years ago, and now the churches are empty, more or less, not always, of course, but this came instead. Art came instead of religion, let us say. But it's not so that that the government pays a lot to artists. It's not like in Switzerland, or it's not like in Holland. Of course, in Holland they stopped a little bit with this, but I think it's the country which gives less, comparing with other countries, to artists. Of course, they have museums and so, but it's not extremely. It's they give something, but very little. Like they buy art from artists, but it's only for a few works in a year. So, for the whole country. So, don't. It's not a paradise. Also, we have to work for everything. Sometimes I hear stories from artists in some European countries, especially, that the government pays a lot for. You have to know the right people. Of course, you have to work, but that I think in Switzerland it's extremely. For instance, I don't know if it's still like that, but I know in the 90s, I was astonished that artists received every month a wage which was higher than what the doctor got here, just to be an artist. And also in Holland it was like that. It was like that. They changed it, but I'm very happy that I can do the show, that you want to bring me in Japan. I'm very, very honored, and maybe we can work together. Maybe you have more plans in the future. I haven't spoken about that I am a judoka. I'm judoka. The blue dan, the blue, or not brown, blue. De Ashibarai, Oki Hoshi. When I was young. Even if I fall now with my bicycle, I think I use gimmicks from falling on the tatami. Like, you know, so when I fall, up to now, when I fall with my bicycle, I have nothing.